the moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Mike Mjolnir Evans. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Yeah, baby.
Hello.
Wow, we're back. We're
back.
back. Did you miss us? I missed you.
Yeah, I missed quite a few of you out there.
Where have you gone?
Now, let me just say, I want to clear the air. Anybody that may feel disgruntled or dismayed, we pretty much do this show for ourselves first and foremost, but we have the listeners' thoughts and concerns in mind. And we thought Podcoin was a legitimate enterprise.
I think it was.
I think it was. I think it started with all the best intentions.
Yes.
For promotional purposes, we advertised it quite a bit on our show, as anybody that listens to us will know. And I think quite a few listeners jumped on the Podcoin bandwagon because of our advertising. But as we know, about a week ago now, they have folded.
Podcoin, go bye-bye.
We just kind of talk them up to get ourselves in the bonus round of podcasts.
Well, it was a
symbiotic.
It was a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we promoted them, and they kind of put us in this category, and it put us in front of listeners who probably otherwise would not have found us.
Yeah, exactly. And you would have done the same. So no judgment out there.
That's right.
And we existed before Podcoin, and as you can tell, we exist after Podcoin.
We will.
So,
we'll move
yes,
on. So we'll just keep churning them out.
We will.
Like you said, we do this for ourselves first and foremost.
We do. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. If it wasn't fun, then we wouldn't do it.
Correct. That's why there's only two of us.
Yeah.
The classic feature today was a movie we've talked about for quite some time, and I really thought that Mike would have been excited. Apparently, not excited enough.
But
Andy was looking forward to Ad Astra. Doesn't matter.
We're an unstoppable force.
Moving on.
Episode 78. There we go.
Yes, there we are. We're large and in charge. So here we go. And I already ruined it. I already told you what we're talking about. Ad Astra.
And Contact today.
Yes. I'm very excited for Contact.
A very nicely themed, and these themes come to us before we even see the main feature. So it's just kind of like we have to surmise that they're going to have some inherent theme evident, and they do. They definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a bit of a stretch, but go back to that moon paired up with that Jonah Hill Netflix series.
Oh, Maniac.
And all of a sudden we walk away realizing that both shows had the same name for their robot. And it was just like, if that's what we got to hang our hat on, then so be it. So moving on, we do have some news. Let's see. September 26th, there was a live streaming event from Pinewood Studios hosted by our friend Warwick Davis. Do you know who you know who Warwick is?
Willow
Ufgood, Wicket.
And
I think he's in every Harry Potter movie as some character or another. But this was Disney's announcement of the Triple Force Friday coming up this coming Friday, October 4th, in which too numerous to even count products for Rise of Skywalker, Mandalorian, and the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is a video game, will all be released. So I feel like going back to 99 with the release of episode 1 in the fervor of everyone racing out midnight to go pick up their Toys R Us action figures that I now have bins and bins of. I'm trying to get rid of because you can't even sell them for $1 a piece. This is the same thing. It's just a massive wave of product being dumped and collectors being duped into buying this crap.
But you would think that they would know better by now.
They
like
don't.
when something comes out in
because it's a whole new. I think it's a whole new generation. Because there are people who have shown interest in these episode 1 figures. I've had collecting in my attic for years.
Because
20
I was
years.
one of those. Just like you, I was out there the first week they were released. I have that drone from episode 1, that first figure
Yeah,
that
the
was
staff.
released.
Yeah. But that was the fun of the chase, though. You know, it really was going to. I used to be like a pilgrimage every Friday. I'd go to my comic store. I'd hit every Toys R Us, Kmart, or the South Hills Mall, or anything that may have new product that you could scarf up. Yeah.
But unbeknownst to you, everybody around the country was doing the same thing. So there's
Right.
so much of it out there.
Yeah.
I think at that time, right in the mid to late 90s, is when the boom of the older vintage toys really started to take hold.
Well, correct. And it's,
yeah.
all of a sudden we're realizing that, boy, if I just kept this in the package, and that was the mentality. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Because throughout the 80s, that's when you saw all these things show up in garage sales, and everybody pretty much got rid of their stuff in their attic. And then 5 years later, that's when the demand started.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, 87 was the 10th anniversary. Starlog was doing a 10th anniversary Star Wars tour. They did one out in California, and then they had a mini convention in Boston. And I was in college at the time, and I had a friend who frequently went to Boston, and he promised me he'd take me. And we went, and it was tiny. It was just this little tiny hole-in-the-wall event going on. Peter Mayhew was there, and I missed him because I happened to be in the theater watching like some retrospect on Harrison Ford. But the small vendor tables that they had, a guy had the original action figures for $100 a piece. And as a kid in college, I was like, for something that just came out 10 years ago, you're insane. Now, if I could go back and buy them for $100 a piece, mint in package, I would probably sell off my firstborn.
And this guy's probably kicking himself. I sold them for $100 a piece.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. So you're right, though. It's just, but it just boggles my mind because here we go again. It's just, Disney's just ramping this stuff up, and it's a cash cow. Anyway, so yeah, I missed out on that, and I will not be buying anything. I didn't see anything on there that's worthy of my collection that I need to have. Now, when you were in Galaxy's Edge, I'm assuming that you did go to the gift shop.
Yes, of course.
And they probably have a ton of exclusives.
Yeah, they did. First and foremost, I'm always looking for the Funko stuff, and they had 1 or 2 exclusives of characters that Disney had created for Galaxy's Edge.
That was I had the Star Tours action figures, yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's I'm thinking of the same things. Like, do I really need this next to my episode 1 stat drone? Or it just gets too much. So
it's I think that we're at a point in our lives, right, where you're just kind of like, what am I going to do with this stuff? So, anyways, moving on. This could be a whole episode on collecting dust. Jurassic World 3. It's not set for release until 2021, but they're bringing back the dinosaurs. And I'm not talking about the T-Rex. We are getting Sam Neill. We are getting Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum. All 3 original cast members coming back. Good. Now, we got Jeff. We've gotten them individually over the last couple of Jurassic Park World movies.
We got Jeff last time. Yes, we did get a brief snippet. Yeah.
Right. Laura Dern had a little mini cameo in, was it Jurassic Park 3, where Sam Neill had a big part in.
Yeah, Sam Neill he carried Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, I thought it was Tia Leone's short.
Oh, well, she actually carried them.
So anyways, I find this interesting. And we talked about this last week, which is that little mini episode that dropped, the Battle at Big Rock.
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I did not watch it.
You did not watch it. But but in short, it's only like a little 7-10 minute video, and it's this family out camping, and the camp gets overrun by these dinosaurs that are a Allosaurus or a T-Rex attacking a Triceratops and his mother. So I think it's just giving you a flavor of what this, the way they set up Jurassic World, Lost Kingdom, where we now have a world where there are just dinosaurs running amok. I don't really know where they're going with this storyline, or if it's going to be interesting or anything new, but we will have the original cast members back. So.
And speaking, I didn't really talk to this much last week, but seeing as a couple weeks ago I was in Universal Studios Hollywood.
You did bring up the Jurassic World.
Yeah, I did go on the Jurassic World ride. And if anybody's been on the Jurassic Park ride, it's pretty much the same thing, except it's got a few more T-Rexes before the big drop. There's I counted 3, if I wasn't mistaken, that kind of surround your boat before the boat drops into darkness. And there's also a new section where you're going through a simulated aquarium with windows on either side. And what do they call that big thing? The Mesosaurus?
Mosasaurus, yeah.
Mosasaurus. that is trying to break through the glass at you. And there's a nice effect where the animated Mosasaurus cracks the glass as he's bumping into it.
Water squirts out?
And water squirts out.
See, yeah. I could make this crap. Okay, so there we go. We got that coming, but not until 2021. Kevin Feige of MCU has been tapped to develop a Star Wars movie.
I saw this, yeah.
So what do we think of this? Because the guy is just, right now he's Teflon in the MCU.
This is true. He's getting out of his comfort zone here. So I don't know. Will the cracks in the pavement start to show if he doesn't deliver something? Because the expectations are going to be so high on whatever he does.
Well, that's right, correct. Yeah. And we'll get into it, not in this episode, but I guess when we talk about Rogue One in a future episode. The missed opportunities in, I guess, the fan reaction to some of these standalone Star Wars movies. But how cool would it be if he basically built up a couple hand-picked character-driven movies and then ended it with an Avengers-like meeting?
Oh, I see where you're going. With brand new characters or with existing?
Know. I don't know. Do I need to see Yoda's backstory? Do I need to, episode 3 or 2, I think, ruined it for the Wookiees for me.
And the holiday special hadn't already ruined it for the
No, that
Lumpy
that holds a special place in my heart. As a matter of fact, when I was talking about Triple Force Friday, I was actually going to bring up Jefferson Starship was not there.
No,
but they had prior commitments. Hip surgery. I think. The big news is, which is as soon as you and I got on today, this was the big news, which is we called it. Sony and Marvel have made up. We are getting a third Spider-Man movie.
I found it hard to believe that this wouldn't happen.
There's too much at stake.
There's so much money to be made. Yeah,
and we said from the beginning, this is like Disney. They were like, you know what? We just want a bigger stake in this. You guys are making money hand over fist. We want 50% of your profits. That's like opening negotiating tactics. And Sony, as opposed to saying, whoa, they're just like, screw it. We don't need you at all. So apparently cooler heads have prevailed. It was signed. We're going to get the third and what they're referring to as the Homecoming trilogy. So what we got? We got Homecoming. We had Far From Home. And then what is 3? I'm Coming Home?
Homie Don't Play That, I think.
Homie Don't Play That. And that won't come out, again, it won't come out until 2021.
I'm also seeing reports now that Feige is going to use this as an opportunity to write Spider-Man out of the MCU in case there's another stalemate at the end of this process.
But he is, but this contract, this agreement does allow him to appear in one more MCU
non-Spider-Man solo movie.
Right. And then Marvel Disney will retain 25% of the profits, as opposed to the 50 they were asking for.
And they probably most likely were not expecting, as you said, an opening tactic, not expecting to get 50, but then Sony shut them down immediately.
Right. I mean, my mom taught me that when I was 10 years old, when you go to a flea market, guy wants $5 for it, offer him $4, you got to haggle. So Marvel does retain the merchandising rights, but they are also putting up a quarter of the financing. So very exciting news.
Yes. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear it.
And if you're going to properly write him out, then fine. Properly write him out. But you can't take away this character who you've now integrated so much within the world of Tony Stark and then just never mention it again. So there you go. That's our news.
So this week we have an ET themed.
Do we?
Without any actual ETs present. So you could say that both movies are a little bit of a cheat in that respect.
I give Contact the edge on that one.
Well, we'll get into that once we start talking about Contact. Yes, I don't want to give away my hand here, so let's just concentrate now on our main feature, Ad Astra.
We have to at least throw this out here, which is we do spoil movies. If you've never listened to this podcast before and you don't want to know what happens in this movie, perhaps you should not listen, because not only are we going to talk plot points, but we're going to talk, obviously, what our feelings are. And if there's any twists, or if there's any turns in this movie, we are going to divulge it.
Because why talk about it if we can't talk about whatever twists are in there? So
right, correct.
Which may bring our listening audience down from 2 to 0. So,
so Ad Astra, starring Brad Pitt.
Just a comment about Brad Pitt. I love his work. Do not get me wrong. I'm a big fan.
I'm with you. I absolutely love him.
Fight Club, Interview with a Vampire. true romance, even the little parts that he does.
Yeah. Oh, 5 monkeys.
5 monkeys. 12 monkeys.
12 monkeys. Oh, 5 monkeys. What the hell am I talking about?
You're short selling the monkeys.
7 of them. Oh, sorry. 5 monkeys. That's way too early. They couldn't afford
that was the prequel to 12
there
monkeys.
You go.
Yeah.
He was
But Brad Pitt has got such chiseled jawbone.
Well, I think that's the detriment to him, which is he's a pretty boy, and so a lot of people kind of dismiss him but he's got some serious acting chops.
He does. And speaking of chops, his jawbone is so perfect that it always sounds like when he speaks, he's got cotton in his mouth.
He's cotton in his mouth.
Yeah. That's the price you pay.
And I will tell you, this movie loves him because the extreme close shots of his face are just like too numerous to even count. I mean, his head looms large on that screen. But I do like the fact that he's showing his age. They didn't shy away from that.
Yeah, and he is age appropriate. His character as well in this movie.
Major
it's not
Roy
like
McBride, right?
It's not like he's playing. He's not like he's playing 15 years younger than he actually is. He is playing his age,
which you can now with the CG.
Yeah, you can.
And we'll get into that as well.
Look at Gemini Man, right? The trailer for that. Yeah, the plot is pretty simple, straightforward, pretty funny because Brad Pitt's character, Roy McBride, Major Roy McBride. They don't give exactly what year it is, but it just says in the beginning there's a legend in the near future.
In the near future.
And just
we've got like a 7-mile tall antenna dish.
Yeah, now the opening scene is pretty incredible because
this really wastes no time getting into kind of the guts or the drive of the story.
Now talk about fear of heights. Now this really set me on edge, this opening scene.
You didn't see it in IMAX though, right? You would have lost your mind. I
didn't see it in IMAX and 3D, forget it. I don't think this is available in 3D. So we have Roy McBride and he's working on this huge antenna. You actually don't know what it is at first. You think he's in a space station.
Because they refer to it as an International Space Antenna.
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, so it's like a space station kind of floating above the Earth's atmosphere. But no, it's tethered to the Earth. It is one long giant spire.
So he suits up, right? And he's got a helmet and everything. And everybody in this station is wishing him good luck. And you think he's going on a spacewalk. The door opens and he just walks out onto this platform. I'm like, wait a second, isn't there not supposed to be gravity in space? And the camera kind of goes over his head and down, and you see how tall this thing is. And it's just that moment, it was like, I actually got vertigo looking at this scene. What was his purpose up there? He was climbing down the outside of this ladder. He was
fixing something. I don't know. Because he wasn't alone. There was other guys out there on the other end of the spire. So there was some kind of electrical interference or something that he had to go and deal with.
Yeah, it was the surge, actually, that you learn about a little bit farther into the movie. At this point in time in the movie, we are very much interested in searching for extraterrestrial life, and that's what this antenna is doing up there. They're trying to send signals or capture signals from out in the deep, dark vastness of space. So as Brad Pitt is hanging on this tower and he's doing whatever he needs to do, a power surge occurs, which causes an explosion in the top portion of this, which he just exited. So everybody that he was talking to in the beginning of the movie is killed.
Is now being thrown out. Yeah.
He is thrown off of the antenna and goes into free fall and blacks out and then comes to again as he's still falling. And then you realize he's got a parachute on, and
which is also getting ripped apart by the shrapnel that's coming down.
By the debris, yeah.
This whole opening shot is so impressive. It's so very atmospheric, and again, it's a very intimate movie. You know, the way that it was promoted and the way I walked into this, my expectations for this, it looked very 2001 Space Odyssey-ish. I'm thinking.
As did, Contact has a lot in common with that as well, which we'll get into.
But this is a very, very intimate, personal movie. There's a lot of external dialogue that goes on in his head, whether he's recording it on for posterity on a video camera, or if it's in his head and he's just having these callbacks. He's got this relationship with his wife that went sour, who is played by Liv Tyler, by the way.
Yes, who we haven't seen very much in recent years.
And the last time I think we did see her, she was on a video screen in Armageddon. So
and again,
it wasn't that big of a stretch for her.
No, and she's doing movies where it's probably like one day of work, where she's like in the movie for a total of 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, because it's all, we'll get into it, but you only see her in flashbacks until the very end of the movie.
Right.
So he's got, so this all unfolds within like the first 10 minutes, and that free fall is just so kinetic and so crazy. You're invested in this character who's now plummeting to Earth, but he survives because he's Brad Pitt.
Because with movies these days that are non-linear and everything else, you kind of do have that sense as, okay, am I going to see him die? And then the rest of the movie is going to be in flashback.
And that looms large over this type of movie, which is you keep waiting for the twist. You're given a pretty straightforward movie that from his perspective, and his backstory starts to unfold, and you're waiting for that twist, right? That maybe he never survived that fall.
Right. Or that perhaps Donald Sutherland's character was never really there because nobody interacts with him until he starts having that episode. I was convinced that he wasn't real.
Dead people.
Yeah.
So you and I are on the same wavelength, which is you're completely invested in this movie. It's full of suspense. And you just keep waiting. You just keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. And right? Something's going to happen. There's going to be a twist. There's got to be a twist. The way that they sell it, even on the movie poster, they're kind of like, we went out looking for things. Maybe we found something we shouldn't have. And you're like, all right, we're going to see some aliens. We're going to see something crazy is going to happen. It doesn't.
No, which is kind of refreshing because in this culture of movies, ever since The Sixth Sense, I think movies of the sci-fi horror genre tend to have a twist. That's what they believe the audiences want and expect.
Right.
So it's kind of refreshing to have this very straightforward plot that goes where you think it's going to go. It doesn't really deviate from
it doesn't in that regard. And to be honest with you, it's not a science fiction movie. It's, like I said, it's a character piece that just happens to take place in outer space.
Right. The same thing it's kind of like Apocalypse Now in space, if you think about it. Except Marlon Brando is Tommy Lee Jones in this case. So
anyway, he survives this fall. And then they're doing this evaluation, and you realize that he's like this. He's not like a super hero, but he's like this kind of super put together guy, right? And they all look up to him. They point out the fact that his heart rate never goes beyond 86 beats per minute. He's cool. He's calm. He's collective. Even like when he's facing death, like he just kind of goes with it. Nothing like really shakes him.
He gets a call that tell him that he is about to hear classified information. And now what happens at the beginning is this explosion is caused by a power surge that has affected the entire world. Power outages everywhere. Yeah. There's like over 40,000 deaths everywhere because of the power outages. And he is told that these power outages are stemming from Neptune, from the area of Neptune. So he is called into this ultra classified meeting, and they tell him that his father, who 29 years prior had gone on a deep space mission that ended up around Neptune, where he could monitor and try to contact alien life forms from that point in deep, deep space, from the farthest point that anybody's gone before, they lost contact with his ship, I think 16 years into the mission is what they were explaining. Yes, so they believe that the crew died, and they put it off as a loss, and nobody's ever gone out that far again since then. It turns out that they have reason to believe Tommy Lee Jones plays McBride's father, Clifford McBride. He was the commander of this ship that went out near Neptune. It's believed that he is still alive, and he is causing these surges.
Roy, the surge seems to be the result of some kind of antimatter reaction. Now, the Lima project was powered by that material, and your father was in charge of it. Now, we're talking about a potentially unstoppable chain reaction here. The uncontrolled release of antimatter could ultimately threaten the stability of our entire solar system. All life could be destroyed.
Yeah, antimatter, which is what actually fuels the Starship Enterprise. And this kind of like shocks him because, for all intents and purposes, he has just assumed that his dad is dead since he was a kid. And the one thing that you come to realize, which is this Clifford McBride is like the world's greatest hero. He has gone farther than anybody before, out looking for alien life. There's statues erected in his honor. People became who they were because of this guy.
So this fictional character is slotted in with all these real life heroes, these astronaut heroes. And so they explain to Brad Pitt that they think that his father is doing this perhaps on purpose. And they want Brad Pitt's character, Roy McBride, to travel first to the moon and then to Mars to submit a message so they can kind of pinpoint where his father is, because they're hoping that once he hears the message from Roy McBride, that he'll respond And then they'll be able to find out where he is and what they're going to do. Nobody's really sure. They're not telling him. But that's his mission, is to just get out to Mars and to make this message. And that's pretty much the plot of the movie.
That's the full plot. But I love the fact that they shipped him off on a top secret mission. And they're like, all right, we're going to put you on a commercial flight just to, not draw any attention. And then they put him in military garb. But that's where Donald Sutherland comes in, right?
Who is a friend of his father's. And they kind of say that he's going to be your escort.
The guy's like 110 years old. He can barely walk, but he's going to somehow protect Brad Pitt.
Right.
But a huge missed opportunity. Did you ever see Space Cowboy, Clint Eastwood? But Donald Sutherland and Tommy Lee Jones were both in that movie.
Yes.
And it was such a missed opportunity for the two of them to be together. And that's a fun movie, by the way. But
and as I was saying before, the character of his name is Pruitt, as Donald Sutherland's character, and he does not interact with anybody but Brad Pitt.
And that's funny. I didn't pick up on that at all.
So I was convinced that he didn't exist.
He didn't exist, because that's it. You're starting to look for this stuff. You're starting to say, all right, when are you going to throw me a monkey wrench? When am I going to not? When I'm seeing?
Oh, you literally are throwing a monkey wrench at one point in this movie.
Space monkeys. Yes, this movie has mad space monkeys. But you're looking for this stuff. You're waiting for that twist to come, because you're like, all right, what I'm watching is not straight up what I'm watching. There's something else going on here.
So Brad Pitt goes on this commercial flight to the moon, and apparently I only saw 3 passengers on this commercial flight to the moon.
Well, it was $125 for a pillow and a blanket.
Yeah,
so who can really afford to go to the moon? Although I am happy to see that one day we'll have an Applebee's
Applebee's there.
And a Subway on the moon. And he laments the fact he gets there and it's like a tourist trap. And he's like, my dad would tear this down if he saw this now. And you see kids posing with alien people in costumes, just like you do in Times Square.
Yeah.
And it has all the traffic. He goes, we just dragged everything we were trying to escape from here, the trappings of consumerism and whatnot. So that was kind of an interesting thing. It's like, you couldn't just send a message in this day and age. It's in the future. You can't send a message directly from space, from Earth.
I know. Why did he have to go to Mars?
He had to go to 3 different friggin' he was on 3 different spaceships just to get out to where he needed to be able to.
And then they were going to ship him right back after he was done. So, but that leads into the second action sequence of the movie when he's on the moon. He goes into a military facility on the moon after he lands.
Yep.
And they're going to, via moon buggy, they're going to get him to the dark side of the moon.
We've not advanced anything.
No.
We still have, they even look like lower grade moon buggies.
They do with aluminum foil.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and we're told that, by the way, the moon is like a war zone.
We've been having trouble with pirates since September. Some countries have been giving them safe haven. They'll take hostages or go for our rovers. It's like the Wild West out there. It's your first time in the war zone?
3 years over the Arctic Circle.
All right.
And a heck of a lot of Army-Navy games.
I guess that's not much you ever see, right? Well, look, it's almost a full moon. A large stretch of the far side's real black, so let's suit up.
Because there's no territories and there's no border territories and everyone's fighting. So we not only get mad space monkeys that are coming, but we have moon pirates.
Moon pirates, yes. And I'm so thankful that this is not a Disney or 20th Century Fox, because I was expecting, if that was the case, maybe Captain Jack Sparrow in that other moon buggy that's chasing.
I'd be so into that. Jack Sparrow.
But yes, the buggy is attacked by pirates. You're given this, and at this point, you're given the information that pirates do exist. So it would be a big disappointment.
They were out there.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we got 2 buggies on our left. I wonder who that is. It's
we need backup right away. Like, you should have had backup to begin with.
And of course, so how are you shooting in space? They're shooting at each other.
Yeah, who knows?
But again, visually, it is unbelievable. It is pretty impressive. Like I said, the atmosphere of this.
Oh yeah, that scene, the buggy scene. Was beautiful.
Because they all have that gold-covered shields, which we saw going back to Buzz Aldrin when he first landed on the moon, to shield your face from the rays of the sun, because you don't have an atmosphere on the moon. So you get the reflection of the surface, and there's a lot going on that's very, very pretty to look at. But yeah, so here we go. We got moon pirates.
Moon pirates that kill, of course, everybody in this, except for Brad Pitt and Donald Sutherland, who is so rattled by the experience that he's going into some kind of a heart attack when they get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
So this means that Donald Sutherland cannot accompany him to Mars. And this is the first time where you see somebody actually interact with Donald Sutherland.
Only when he's on his deathbed.
Right. So now you're thinking, okay, so he is real.
He jumps on board the spaceship number 2
with an ill-fated crew of 3.
I want to point out that this guy kills more people than his dad did.
I know.
He's a death and destruction in his wake.
So they're going to Mars, right? And they pick up a distress signal. Now, this is such a random scene. I think maybe they just thought they needed more action in this movie.
It is so stupid. Did you ask to Maz? Oh, wait. Oh, we got a distress signal. And he's trying to override. He's on a top secret mission.
They don't even know what his mission is. They
just know who he is.
So they get a distress signal from this ship that's just floating in space.
Which was like a research facility ship.
Yes. And they have the moral obligation to check it out. Just kind of like the crew in Alien, right? When they
correct. Hey.
So they go and it's like a haunted house scene in the middle of this science fiction movie. So they go and they don't find anybody in the ship.
And they split up too, by the way.
They split up, of course. And within 2 seconds of splitting up, suddenly Brad Pitt's no longer hearing from him on the
Captain.
So after a bit of searching, he finally comes upon the captain. He comes up behind him and he just sees his body floating there, twitching.
Yep.
So as he gets a little closer, he looks over his shoulder, and what do we have? A space baboon.
Space monkeys.
Chewing this guy's face off.
Tanner McBride, check. Tanner.
And he somehow broke through that shield and had gnawed off his nose and his left hand.
Apparently there's oxygen in this spaceship because he's got
they were in spacesuits, but the monkeys are just flying around like friggin' they came right out of the Wicked Witch of the West's castle.
Now,
like
where
flying
is the
around.
crew? Where is the crew of this? So he
not
didn't
come
find
across
any bodies
any crew
in the
members.
monkey ship. So maybe they ate them whole.
This is how the Planet of the Apes started, by the way.
So there's 2 monkeys. So they both attack Brad Pitt. And he manages to get out of the chamber that they're in and lock
just
them
in time.
And depressurizes the chamber, which explodes the monkeys.
So not only get mad space monkeys, we get exploding space monkeys.
But he gets the body out of the captain.
Yeah, he somehow gets, I got you, Captain. The guy's got no nose. He's not aboard. He's like, I got you. We'll take care of you. And he starts duct taping his shield together, his front of his helmet, so that he can transport him from the ship back over to the other one. All right, Bob, hold your breath. I know you don't have a nose. So it's like, and of course the captain dies.
They give up on the distress signal. They don't see if there's anybody else alive on the ship.
No, sorry. Yeah, moving on.
So they're done. So, and that's the end. That's all you hear of it. It has nothing to do with the larger plot of the movie.
No. Except to get rid of the captain, which now puts him in charge because we realized that the co-pilot is
inept.
Why was he on that mission? How did he get that job? It was just to put Brad Pitt in charge.
So they make it to Mars, which
takes him 3 months, by the way, and he only has a 5 o'clock shadow.
I wanted to bring that up. In space, nobody can see your beard grow, apparently. Nor your hair, because he's always got that crew cut going on.
That is true.
So,
I had a better line, which was, in space, no one can hear you yawn.
Paul Giamatti must stand up in anger when he's watching this movie in a theater, because my man's got the facial hair going on.
Drop your credentials at the guard's desk and get the out of here!
Is there an episode that we have not brought up Paul Giamatti?
No, because I love that soundbite, and I will probably play it.
Can we have him on our show one day? That would be awesome.
Just so he could swear at us and
yes.
and make us cry.
I would so take that.
Mars is much more sparsely populated than the moon was.
Yeah.
You only have a few people, but the man bun apparently exists on Mars.
Man bun.
Because this really D-baggish kind of guy meets him in a suit with a man bun that's kind of held up by chopsticks, right?
Yeah, sorry, dude. That style went out like in the 2000s.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's on Mars. They just, the fashion police shipped him out.
Fashion police.
So they have Brad Pitt in what looks like a professional recording studio on Mars. Maybe bands.
It was pretty well designed because the eggshell things that you put on the wall, but they looked like they were made out of rock.
So he records the pre-written message to his father, which is very unemotional. And this is your son. Get in touch with us.
But meanwhile, he hasn't seen his son since the kid was like 7 years old.
Yeah.
So anybody could have sent this message and he would have never known it. My son's voice from a year ago is completely different than what it is.
Going along with that, they get no response to this message.
Right. So now he's sent back to his cell.
And which is like a comfort room, they call it, which is kind of like that room in the Soylent Green where they go to kill you. Where you see pleasant images.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, the big screen, and they got the happy flowers and the water and whatever. But all the time that this is going on, he's starting to ramp up his anxiety that he's now confronting his dad, and all these daddy issues that he had are now coming to the forefront. So he has this interaction with these computers, which he has to do. It's not a protocol, but I guess it is, where he has to check in, what are your vitals? How are you feeling? How did you sleep? What are you thinking? And then they evaluate and they say you are approved to keep continuing this mission. But we realized pretty quickly that he's starting to fall apart.
And I thought that whole thing, every time he did a psych evaluation,
there you go, yeah.
At the beginning and at the end, one of the things that he would say was no bad dreams. Now, I know that Brad Pitt is a huge Radiohead fan, and that's lifted directly from a track on OK Computer called Fitter Happier, where it's just like a computerized voice saying, fitter, happier, no bad dreams, blah, blah, blah.
Really?
So that was kind of, I think, a little Easter egg. I think that was a nod of him to Radiohead. But yeah, so Brad Pitt is on Mars. Then they attempt the message again, and he goes off script with the second attempt.
Kind of like from his heart. And then say, thank you very much. You're done here. You're on the next transport out.
Which means that they've got to respond.
And he knows that he's being used. He even says it in his egos, they're using me. And I'm mad about it, but...
Yeah, because now that they know where his father is, they no longer need him, because all they're going to do is destroy him.
As a matter of fact, they even say, right, they're set up, they got to get rid of him. But, he's a detriment to the mission now, because he has an emotional attachment. So what does he do? He somehow sneaks onto the ship at the very last second, and he comes up underneath the engine, and you hear the captain, 3, 2, 1, and he somehow miraculously climbs on board, gets inside the ship as it's launching.
And it's the same 3 crew members as were on the monkey mission that lost the captain. And so the inept guy is in charge of this mission that has to send a nuclear payload to his father's floating ship by Neptune. Brad Pitt comes into the ship. Wait a second. I mean you no harm. You have to have me on this mission. I'm on your side.
Right. No, and they immediately want to shoot
They
him.
immediately try to get him, and they all inadvertently end up killing themselves trying to get him.
It's like I said, this guy, the wake of destruction that this guy
This was Tucker and Dale versus Evil with the college kids.
Absolutely.
Some kid. He just hooked himself right into the wood chipper. What? Head first right into the wood chipper. From his shoes and his pants, it looked like it might have been one of the college kids. Is that your blood? Well, no, it's college kid blood. One of those suckers came running out of nowhere and speared himself straight through the gut and died right on top of me, Todd.
These college kids are all over my property killing themselves.
Ad awful as well.
It's terrible.
He's able to park it in orbit around Neptune. All right, stay right here. He hitch it to an asteroid or something.
Then he takes a shuttle to Clifford McBride's ship. And this is where the Apocalypse Now aspect, Colonel Kurtz aspect comes into it, because the MacGuffin in this movie is Tommy Lee Jones himself.
Right. Up to this point, we've only seen him in flashbacks and little video montages to his son over the years. So he makes it onto what was the name of the ship? Cephalus? I think it's a Greek.
Syphilis? What was it? Cephalus?
Oh, I wouldn't have gone there. If it was syphilis, I would have stayed away from it. I would have stayed on the Mad Monkey ship.
So we get the whole backstory now of Tommy Lee Jones, why he went crazy, because he's been obsessed his whole life, and he's been running away from his family to try to pursue this dream of contacting extraterrestrial life. So they had been out there. They got out there 29 years previously, found nothing. So much so that the crew became disheartened, and half of them kind of mutinied and wanted to go back. And Tommy Lee Jones refused and ended up killing not only the bad crew members, as he termed them, but also the good crew members. So he's the only one left. And that's where Brad Pitt, when he enters the ship, passes all these dead bodies that are floating. So there is a reunion, a father and son reunion, and Brad Pitt realizes that his father never loved him, that he loved.
He tells him that straight up. He goes, it was never about you. It was never about your mother.
And this is the point, I think, that this is the whole point of the movie, where his character reaches that journey where he can put this behind him now. Of course, a cathartic mission for Brad
That's a long
Pitt.
way to go to be cathartic.
Yes, very much so.
A therapist could have worked this out.
So he talks his father into coming back, and he gives no argument to it.
No. As a matter of fact, he's kind of lethargic and just kind of like defeated. I just killed everybody, by the way.
But you know what's funny is that while he's on his way out there to the farthest reaches of space, it's kind of like they're setting up that he's regressing, because you see him suckling on the inside of the spaceship. It's like he's going back in time. He's becoming a kid again.
Because like I said, he's unraveling, because obviously he has these daddy issues that he's really kind of walled off, and we all do it. Listen, you put me on a psychiatrist chair for 2 hours and I start divulging shit. Eventually I'm going to end up weeping and crying about something that I buried deep down and didn't want to deal with. But as he got closer, you're right, as he got closer to his dad and a realization that he's now has to confront this, he was devolving.
And he's setting the nuclear weapon to destroy in 3 hours. So, which he thinks is going to give him enough time to get back to his ship. We saw the shuttle kind of drift away, so I think that they were going to spacewalk. Because it was damaged. So if you're on board at this point, this is where really the logic goes out the window. If you know anything about space physics or lack of. So just like in Gravity, right? The Sandra Bullock.
Which that's a good comparison.
So they've got little rocket boosters on their spacesuits that they can kind of, maneuver themselves through space. So the younger McBride suits up the older McBride in a spacesuit. They go out of the spaceship.
He tethers
They tether themselves to each other. And then Tommy Lee Jones unhooks himself away from Brad Pitt and just goes right into deep space.
Tumbling in space, tussling with each other. And he's trying to fight with his dad. Stop it. And
he finally lets his dad go. Symbolically, he physically lets him go, and then symbolically lets him go as well, and watches him drift off until he can't see him anymore.
So his dad disappears, so his issues are over. Now how do I get back to the ship? This one's going to set to blow up in a matter of minutes.
In a nuclear explosion, not just blow up, but in a nuclear explosion.
So what am I going to do?
So Mr. MacGyver, he takes a panel off of the outside of the spaceship, propels himself through the ring of Neptune.
Yeah, because there's a rotating radar dish that he uses as a catapult.
Yes.
He rides it, and then using the panel as a shield while he's going through the asteroid belts, which is just, it can't happen. We'll get into it with Contact a little bit with this whole faith versus science thing, because he sees the ship that he left behind, and there's a light beam that connects. It's like point A to point B, and it's almost like the finger of God pointing at him that, if you just take this straight, you'll be able to go directly back to your ship.
He makes it through that ring of Neptune. He makes it to the ship. And then his thought is, because he's out of fuel at that point, or he doesn't have enough fuel to get back to Earth.
Yeah, you can't even turn around.
So his logic is that he's going to ride the shockwave of the nuclear explosion all the way back to Earth. Now, it took him 3 months to get to Mars. Yeah. Is that going to sustain you for however long it takes?
Well, it's as long as, an object set in motion, stays in motion until it runs into something else.
But you would have to steer it unless the ship has some kind of set coordinates. I don't know. Maybe that's where we have to go to believe that this is possible. But
right. But do you remember the other movie we watched in which they employed this tactic? Was Treasure Planet.
Oh, yes.
Where the sun was going supernova, and they used the solar sails to ignite the explosion to power the solar sails and push them out. And I think actually in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, they used the same concept as well. So maybe he saw those movies. And
maybe he did. Maybe he did.
It worked. But there's such a huge leap in logic in. I walked out of this movie so disappointed, and I don't know if it was. I guess my expectations were I was going to see something that I didn't see, and maybe that's not a fair criticism of a movie. Because, how many Star Wars fans do we hear that I wouldn't have done that. I would have done this, and so you can't.
Now, this is directed by James Gray, who did low-key films before this. The biggest one being, I think, The Lost City of Z, which was Robert Pattinson. And that was a pretty good movie.
That was a good movie. I did like that. Another movie, very atmospheric, very kind of a personal journey type of a thing.
And his quote was, he wanted to do the most realistic depiction of space travel that we've yet seen in a movie. So I don't know, never been in space. I don't know if
Right,
that's been
correct.
achieved, but,
Yeah. I don't
but
know.
realism, I don't think would apply to the ending of this movie.
No. I mean, the score and the visuals were top notch, but
You do feel kind of cheated. That
yeah,
it doesn't get you anywhere.
no.
And
And all
there's-
it gets him is back to where he started.
Yeah.
But with the realization that he can now move forward. And this is the one thing, Tommy Lee Jones and Liv Tyler, who probably get, top billing right behind Brad Pitt, literally phone in their performances. You only see them in like video conferences and flashbacks until he sees his dad on the ship. And then you just see Liv Tyler show up in a bar or wherever it was that he was waiting for.
Yeah.
So we're led to believe, oh, he's good now, and he's gonna make amends with his wife, and he realizes his mistakes. And oh yeah, by the way, I killed my dad and about 50 crew members.
Yeah. And apparently nobody cares about that when he gets home.
No, he's probably commandeered.
That he
He's probably
commandeered this secret
right.
mission.
They'll probably get got a Medal of Honor. Oh, it was a top secret mission, so probably no one ever knew about it.
Oh, by the way, there's a ship out there with monkeys. Maybe you better check that out.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay away from that. So there you go. Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. Yes.
Ad nauseum.
Yes.
But I think it's a split movie because there are people who are coming out raving about it. And of course, you watch the commercials and they're like, "This is a 5-star movie. And you got to see it." It is visually, it is very impressive.
It is. Yeah. Especially as we were talking about that moon scene.
Yeah.
When the lunar modules are racing around the moon.
Yep.
And there's one shot where Brad Pitt puts his hand out. The
like
moon
a star
dust is
dust.
trailing on his fingers.
Yeah, that's a straight up Wall-E swipe, by the way.
So I liked the look of the thing. I liked the fact that it didn't have a twist, but I did feel cheated that I didn't get at least an alien transmission at the end or
something. Yeah. You kept waiting for them to,
something that made
validate
it
his
worth.
dad's sacrifice.
Exactly.
The dad, especially when you get into the next movie, which, the overall riding theme, which is, if it's just us, it's a huge waste of space. Yeah, it's kind of depressing. It's like, yeah, he's been out there for 30 years, out beyond all the noise of the earth, and we found nothing. So
how many buckets would we give this?
visually, like I said, it's pretty impressive. The longer I watched it, the more it just kind of like devolved into silliness. 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go the same. I would give it 2.5. I was thinking 2, but the visuals they're stunning. So
Do you think
it is an
people felt this-
achievement.
Do you think people felt this way when they first saw 2001? That's
I
a
think
movie
they did.
I
think
still
they
don't
did.
rack myself around. It's still not a movie I can walk away and be like, it's a masterpiece, because it really does. You like, what the hell did I just watch?
You have to have a very open mind for a movie like 2001. You have to be willing to go places that the movie is not telling you. So, and if you're just in for like a linear escape,
Right.
then you're not going to
It's
like a
not-
movie like
you're not getting
2001.
it, no.
So I
No.
think that would have polarized a lot of people in 1968.
And I tend to think if I watch this again, I may appreciate it more on its merits because I don't have the expectations now of where it's going, and just see it for the journey of the main character.
Yeah. I don't think I'll watch it again though. I have no intent to do that, but yeah, I
Yeah.
can see where I might like it more. But I'd
Right.
rather watch Contact again.
Yes,
than this.
absolutely, which we did.
So let's go to the concession stand. I'm going to have to bring back our classic Alien at the Drive-In
Okay, listen, that's always a goodie.
advertisement for this.
There you
So
go.
let's listen to this and then come back with Contact.
Yes, sir. May I help you?
I'd like 2 of those, please.
Hot dogs? Yes, sir.
And 3 of those. And 1 of those. And 5 bars of these. And a cup of that nice hot liquid.
Coffee. Coming right up.
Oh, and 2 bags of those peculiar white puffy material.
You mean our crunchy popcorn? Shall I wrap that for you, sir?
Oh, that's all right. My saucer's just outside.
They come from miles to enjoy our intermission.
Okay, so we're back and we are covering 1997's
What?
Contact.
It was 92.
Can you believe
wasn't it?
how long? No, 97.
What? Hold on, I gotta look that up.
You got to look
97?
that up. July 11th, 1997 is
Okay.
the
All
release
right.
date.
You probably did the research. Wow, I put
I did.
92 on there. Yeah, a lot of times when I see the name of a movie, I can kind of see the date.
I'm thinking 92 was like Maverick. That was early in Jodie Foster's oeuvre.
So where did Nell fall? That was
Nell
later.
was, I think, 95. 94, 95.
Okay.
Possibly even 93.
I like her in this, though.
She's always good. Of course, Clarice, Silence of the Lambs kind of started the Jodie Foster renaissance. She was in quite a few big movies in the 90s. And always
she was
on
a child actress.
Yeah, from Taxi Driver, right?
Yep.
Age of 13.
Yeah.
So, and she was always on the nominee list in the Academy Awards, like right through the 90s. So
The Accused, right? The Accused, she was in there.
She was in. No, that started it. That was pre-Silence of the Lambs. So I think that really started the Jodie Foster renaissance.
Okay.
That was 88, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But
I'm not going to argue your dates.
Yeah, please, don't question me, Jeff. Don't question me.
That's usually what I say when my family's like, what? I'm like, it's 92. Go with it.
So, all right, Contact. Now,
Contact, 3, 2, 1. And so this was directed by Robert Zemeckis. Which listen, after Back to the Future, this man will do no wrong for me.
And Superman as well. And we have a Superman reference in this movie, right? Bob Zemeckis is Superman, isn't he?
No. That was Richard
Donner.
Donner.
Yeah, another
Donner.
snippet for the editing.
No, no, leave that one in. Zemeckis did Who's Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him more credit because there's a Superman Easter egg in here. Kent Clark is Richard Fitchner, the blind guy. Did you catch his name, Kent Clark, instead of Clark
did
Kent?
Not. No, I actually wrote him as blind guy.
But his name is Kent Clark.
I guess I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Contact, 1997, Jodie Foster.
97, yep.
So the history of this movie, it's based on a story by Carl Sagan. In fact, this was released shortly after Carl Sagan's death.
Yeah.
And but he was with this it goes as far back as the mid-70s, right up until it was actually greenlit as a film. He put a treatment out there. I think he wrote it with his wife in 1979 for a possible film, and nothing happened with it. So he wrote the novel in 1985. I guess he got impatient, and then he just wrote the novel to get it out of his system.
Right. And, you talk about Ad Astra with the director wanted to be as close to real space travel. I mean, Carl Sagan, if you're going to write an alien contact story, outside of Hawkins, this is probably your guy.
Yeah.
He knew his stuff. And I mean, some of this, you're talking about the guy who theorized wormhole time travel, space time travel. And some of the stuff, we now take for granted now, but these were theories that he was putting out there years ago.
And it was based on the character of Ellie Arroway, which is played by Jodie Foster, was based on a real person, Jill Tarter, head of the Project Phoenix at SETI.
Arecibo, that's in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico, the giant...
the world's
giant
largest,
satellite.
it's a radio telescope. As you know, now SETI, so if you don't know, SETI is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Government funding has gone way down. You can actually become part of SETI, and you can tap into their systems, and you can review and scan areas that have been using the telescope to try and find signals.
Really?
You can do it from your computer. Yep. I looked into it a couple years ago, but I really didn't have hours to sit in front of my computer looking at anomalies and whatnot.
So this is also a story about, well, not fathers and sons, but in this case, fathers and daughters. So we open the movie with a flashback, not a flashback, but it actually opens with Ellie as a little girl. And this is after an opening of a trip through the cosmos.
I was going to bring this up because this is a brilliant setup. And again, it goes to the heart of the movie, which is you start at Earth and you start to hear like all these broadcasts, these radio broadcasts. And as you zoom through the galaxy and you get farther away, you hear broadcasts, but they're from further back in time. So it's no secret that our radio transmissions, radio signals are being sent out into space.
Yeah, it's kind of like listening to "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel.
Yeah, because it is like the greatest hits, and it goes all the way back. And then as you come outside the solar system, then it turns silent. But by then you're like, and then it just keeps going, and you're seeing just billions and billions of galaxies and whatnot.
it's very much in common with the theme from Ad Astra of regression. I kind of got that from this viewing, and I haven't seen Contact, I think, since 1997. I have not watched it once.
This is high on my list. I love this movie. And we'll get into the religious aspects of it because I was not raised religious in any way, shape, or form, but I love the argument of science versus faith.
Yes, and that they can coexist.
Yeah, well, I think that's the end result of the movie. I did watch the audio commentary with Robert Zemeckis, and I think it's Ken Ralston, and all they did was talk about, because you said this is late 90s. I thought it was earlier.
You're still holding on to that, aren't you? You're still holding on to that.
Well, I had 92 in my notes.
Look it up on the phone right now. Look it up on the phone right now.
No, listen, I'm sure you're right. There's certain times where I just think I know what I know, and I commit it to my notes, and that's the end of it.
Neither of us are going to let it go until
Look, I didn't even. It's not even on my IMDb 97. You son of a bitch. Fine. Just like when I tell my wife, I hate it when you're right.
Right.
You're right. So, but Zemeckis and the audio, and all they talked about was how amazing it was that you can do stuff in computers. They weren't even referring to it as CG. It was just straight up computers. And it was nothing major. It was like, oh, we were able to change the eye color of the little girl so it matched Jodie Foster's eye in the flashbacks. Oh, you see this set? Now, this set, they were on set, but this is a real, and we merged it together and we backlit this. So it was silly stuff. It doesn't add really much. They didn't really add too much to the storyline that I got as far as the audio commentary, other than the fact that pretty much every computer screen you saw was CG'd after the fact.
Oh, okay.
It was added in. And that's one thing in this movie, which is there's so much importance played on these TV screens that kind of propel the story and to tell you more about what's going on in the world, which I find interesting. But yeah, let's go. Let's get into it.
So did you realize that the young Ellie is played by, her name is escaping me now, but the girlfriend from Donnie Darko? I
did see that. I don't remember her, but yeah, that is...
So we get that scene in the beginning after that reveal through the cosmos of Ellie as a probably nine-year-old.
Yeah, probably.
And she lives with her dad. Her mother has passed away, so he's a single dad, and she's the only child. She and him kind of share an interest in the stars, in astrology.
Yes, right.
Looking at the stars. And that's where she gets the line, if there's nobody out there, it seems like an awful waste of space. And then her father gives her that line.
Her father gives her that line, yeah. Yeah, and she's on the CB radio talking to people, and she's like pinpointing, like, how far can my radio, my ham radio, I'm talking to people in Mexico, I'm talking to people in Florida or whatever, and so that's the theme, which is she's constantly reaching out.
And she's asking him, could I reach the moon? Well, if you had a powerful enough signal, you could reach anywhere. Yeah. So you get that bonding moment between them before anything tragic happens, but unfortunately it does happen in the very next scene where you realize that the father has some kind of medical condition. And she comes upon him one evening soon after you see that very opening scene of them together collapsed. So she runs for the pills, and let's talk about
I want to point that out because it is a brilliant shot completely in a mirror as she comes up the stairs and is running down the hallway toward it's a weird, and you don't realize what you're watching until you see her reach almost into her own scene. So the way he shot that was pretty impressive because
when she it's like the bathroom mirror, that's the cabinet she opens up and then sees the pills there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like he's filming the mirror.
Yeah.
And she comes up from behind the camera, but the way that it unfolds on screen is pretty impressive. Yeah.
So, and that's the last you see of the young Ellie Arroway, because then it's apparent. Well, actually, no, you do see some of the wake in the funeral.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And
she's the last thing you see of that little girl is she's trying to reach out to her dead father on her radio.
And you do get a little foreshadowing in that scene alone. Her dad picks up a picture that she had painted of kind of like the seaside of Florida with these palm trees that she hand drew. And she has a star poster on the wall with like a star constellations, and both of those come back in.
Yes,
and play heavily in the storyline at the end.
So fast forward to the present of the film, and you've got Jodie Foster now as the character, and she is joining the SETI project in Puerto Rico, and to listen to the stars. And so she meets the character of Kent Clark, who is played by William Fichtner, who is a blind man that does nothing but listen. So So it's very apropos that he's there. And
he's a famous character actor. He's shown up in quite a few movies.
Yeah, he's usually the heavy because he has a very unusual look about him. He's one of these actors that I think a makeup guy would just rub his hands at the chance to work with, because his face already looks like he's halfway to transforming into something.
I can work with this.
I can work with this very well. So so she meets the kind of geek type workers that work already. And there's one guy that has a pipe that reminded me of Clayton. Remember Clayton from Benson? And he was also in King Kong.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
And he always had the pipe.
That's Renee Auberjonois. That's Renee Auberjonois.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Odo on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Tell me his name again.
Renee Auberjonois.
Auberjonois? I always just say Renee because I lose it at that point. Yeah.
Auberjonois, maybe. I don't know.
So we have, he's not in this movie, but one guy reminded me of him. So we have a collection of nerds, and we have the blind guy, as Jeff has in his notes. And so things are all well and good. Ellie's working there, and they get a visit from Captain Dallas himself, David Drumlin, who is Tom Skerritt from
I think was kind of I mean, we've seen him obviously in Alien and some other things. I think this was kind of a weird move for him to play such a guy.
I know he was very much the heavy in this.
But he does a great job at it.
He was the president's science advisor, and it was kind of his job to secure funding for SETI, I think. And he was a little bit dubious of the whole project anyway, because he's not really of the mind that there's extraterrestrials out there.
Why are we wasting our money, investing in this? Because at the end of the day, I mean, I think Hawkins even said, you know what, if there is intelligent life out there, we probably should stay away from them.
Right. So there's a tell there. So there's a tell there that you're going to get a little bit of trouble from him later on in the movie, just because of the give and take he's having with Ellie and the others. And this is also the time in Puerto Rico that she first meets the curiously named Palmer Joss, who is played by Matthew McConaughey in complete all right mode. He gets more soft focus than Barbara Streisand does.
Oh, he's good to look at.
And you might as well. Every time he showed up, I felt like there should be a fan blowing through his hair.
I'm sure there was offset.
I work on a project called SETI.
Search for extraterrestrial intelligence? Wow. And that is out there. Will you have dinner with me tonight?
And it looked like he always had more pancake makeup on than Jodie Foster did.
And he was always just so laid back. And just...
Now, apparently, he's a reverend, right? And apparently he does not let his faith interfere with his libido in any way, shape, or
form. Oh, no, because he beds her in a heartbeat.
He does.
Yeah.
Like, have dinner with me. All right.
All right. Lordy. Amen.
I can see him showing up for the first day, going to wardrobe. What's this? It's called a shirt, Mr. McConaughey.
Or my bongos.
I gotta wear this. Can I at least undo the first 4 buttons? Come on now, work with me here.
I think that's in this contract. The first 4 buttons have to be surgically removed from the shirt.
So she beds Joss Palmer, realizes later that he's a reverend, or no, was it before?
No, I think she did. Yeah, okay. She still slept with him.
It just made him more enticing to her, right? Yeah, because she was an atheist, so that's like probably gave her some kind of a thrill to bed a
holier than thou.
But so and then she gets word that they're moving her to New Mexico, to the VLA, right? Am I skipping something here, or is that pretty much what it was?
No, because you're right. It does move pretty quickly 4 years later. But so he disappears. We don't really see him again. He leaves a note. He leaves a note, call me, and you see it a couple times. She'll pick up the note, but she never really calls.
Yeah, and like Roy McBride, she's very much a loner. So she is afraid of commitment. You know that she's into her work, and that's pretty much it.
But she did connect, because at one point he repeats the phrase that she says, because she's immediately on the defense. That, my religion is science, your religion is faith. And she kind of like blows him off that, how can you believe in something that you can't prove? Which is, the heart and soul of this whole movie.
Is what she does. Yeah.
And
she's believing in something she can't prove. Yeah.
Right. But he says something like, well, do you believe? And he repeats the line that her dad says, which is, if it's just us, it seems like a huge waste of space.
Yeah.
And then her reply is amen. So you've already got that kind of, it's that Scully Mulder tit for tat.
But this guy is such a D-bag. I was missing that scene where he actually sneaks that piece of information from somebody she knows. Well, her father told her this once. All right. I'll use that.
You don't really see him again. And like you said, she gets kind of promoted. And she does this passionate. She goes in front of the board.
Yes, because she's looking for funding, right? So she goes to this billionaire's office.
This huge wooden round table, a very impressive set. And she now has to pitch why she needs funding and why she has to continue it. And this is kind of where you see this other character that we find out later is played by John Hurt, which is Haddon. And she's being watched by these video cameras. And this is one thing, again, I mentioned it before with the video cameras and the TV monitors that kind of build out the worlds beyond what you're seeing on screen. You're seeing a lot of the intercuts with real world shots of Clinton as president at the time and these news reports. CNN was completely on board to film stuff that tied in with what was going on with these characters, especially once they received the signal. So it's almost like these video screens are another character that's expounding upon, what you're seeing outside of this room but yeah, so she gets her funding from this mysterious Haddon. And next thing you know.
Now let's talk about this. As you said, she gives an impassioned speech because she thinks that she's not going to get the funding and they're just dismissing her because they think.
Yeah, because now she's like pissed. She's like, yeah, well, screw you.
They think the idea is ridiculous. And then she launches into a speech, the Wright brothers were ridiculous. This was ridiculous. But, it's funny. She's so impassioned. And Jodie, this is just not a trait of the character, but of Jodie Foster herself, that when she gets passionate about something, her voice starts going up and down.
Want to hear something really nutty? I heard of a couple guys that want to build something called an airplane. You get people to go in it and they fly around like birds. It's ridiculous, right? Or what about breaking the sound barrier, or rockets to the moon, or atomic energy, or a mission to Mars? Science fiction, right? All I'm asking is for you to just have the tiniest bit of vision, to step back for 1 minute and look at the big picture.
Almost like a Vinnie Barbarino. Oh, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter, I just want to tell you how excited I am about this term paper. It's all I can think about lately.
Really, Vinny?
Yeah.
I'm happy to see you so involved.
Oh, yes, I'm really into it.
So that's what I thought of during the scene. But you were talking earlier during Ad Astra about the missed opportunity between Donald Sutherland and Tommy Lee Jones. Here we have Kane and Dallas from Alien. And they never share the screen either.
You're right.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I completely forgot that it was John Hurt who played Haddon until he opens his mouth.
Right, yeah.
Because he doesn't look like John Hurt in any way, shape, or form.
And she never meets him in person. It's always over.
No, yeah, he's
screens.
like this. He's like kind of like this mysterious benefactor,
like Howard Hughes, very eccentric,
very much.
Billionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this eccentric guy who's like, you know what, I'm going to back this chick.
Which really gives credence to James Woods' argument later, much later in the movie, because we'll get there. But just the fact that this guy is such a nut job. You're thinking what James Wood is laying down at the end might be true. It's a possibility.
Well, that's like anything, when I get a phone call from, some surveyor and then they start asking me these political questions and I'm like, well, who's backing you? Who's paying for this survey? Because you're asking me questions that you want me to elicit a certain answer. So, right. If her funding is coming from a certain place, we'll get there.
So that's why she ends up in New Mexico, because she gets the funding.
Yeah.
So he gives her the funding. And then the next thing is you see her in New Mexico at the VLA, which is called the Very Large Array, a very literal name for this.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, field full of satellite dishes. Can we come up with, and right, that exists. That place really exists. I don't think that she would have the ability to control and change those dishes as quick and whatever as she does when she's laying on her car.
Right.
But it's a very impressive, set piece.
It is.
If you're gonna talk about, contacting alien life outside of the Arecibo observatory, this is probably a close second. Socorro, New Mexico.
And that's where we get into the meat of the story. That's where it really takes off.
They're scouring the galaxy for radio waves, which again is what we saw at the beginning, the opening scene. Our radio waves going out into the galaxy.
Right. And we get, she actually hears something, which is very ominous, like thumping, deep.
It's very impressive. It's a very and the sound designer, Randy something, I don't think I wrote down his last name. It's a very unique, like you said, it's a very unique signature, and it becomes its own character as well.
Yeah, and it's a repeating motif. Yeah, it sticks in your head because it's a repeating motif of noise.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, it's like this thumping. Yeah.
And now, just giving the cinematic background of Contact being released, this is a year after Independence Day, and Mars attacks. So this is very much in the film goers. This is kind of the trend that was happening in films. So this is like the anti-Independence Day. This movie.
Yeah. It's we knew what happened when aliens contacted us. Yeah. Not a good thing.
So yeah, you're thinking that. And of course we have a devil's advocate character by the name of Kitts, James Woods' character. He's the National Security Council, the head of the National Security Council. So he's got America's best interests in heart.
Don't they all? Right?
Where he's thinking that this this could be seen as some kind of a threat. Because he's seen Independence Day, right? Like the rest of us.
I was going to say, you have to just decide that, there's a certain amount of skepticism involved when, and this is what I love about this movie, is that, especially when it unfolds with the religious aspect of it, this is exactly what would happen. This is why people are like, oh, the government's hiding. Yeah, because if it got out that we really had contact from aliens, people would be losing their freaking minds.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what you see.
That's what happens. That's what happens. The word gets out that we've gotten a message, and they decipher it that the audio message is also a video message. And
right, because it comes like in the one thing that they argue which is mathematics are like the universal language. It's just noise, but they somehow are able to extract it and realize that there is a video hidden within
the audio.
The audio.
And what is it? It is Adolf Hitler at the 1938 Olympics, I believe, the Berlin Olympics.
Yes, which apparently is the strongest broadcast ever released from Earth. True fact.
It is, really? Okay.
Yeah, because back then there was no, it was so early in broadcast age, there was nothing that, we didn't have thousands of satellites up in the atmosphere blocking or whatever, or it was a clear signal that there probably wasn't a lot of noise coming from Earth at the time. And so they send it back.
So they send it back to us.
And so Kitts is immediately like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, not only are they aliens, but they're Nazi aliens as well. So
let's hope they're not space monkey Nazi aliens.
Ooh, no way.
Yeah.
Flying space monkeys coming down in an army.
And they're because the signal is like prime numbers.
So not only do they find that there's a video message, but on the outer layers of this video is another hidden message of hieroglyphics. Embedded hieroglyphics, and nobody can seem to figure out what this is. They're trying to decipher it until Haddon himself gives Jodie Foster the code to. Apparently, he's got his own men.
I was going to say he's got his own, who somehow got a hold of this signal, because it was and that whole White House scene is pretty impressive because you not only have Angela Bassett show up, Rob Lowe's in there. I mean, there's some big name guys that kind of come and go.
Yeah.
Right. They're not
blink and you miss it. Rob Lowe appearance, right?
Yeah. So
John Hurt gives Ellie Arroway the key to deciphering this, and apparently it's schematics to build a machine, and that's exactly what they call it, the machine.
The machine.
To make contact, to send one person, as it is written down in the blueprints. It's a portal to send one person to wherever the message was coming from.
Right.
And that's where you start getting into these Forrest Gump-like shots of President Clinton, mixed in to the action. And I was reading that, of course, he didn't film any of this for Contact. They took existing speeches that Clinton had made and tried to retrofit.
Yeah. And there's one scene where you see him on screen giving his speech in the Oval Office or in his, presidential podium there. And then it pans back, and you see like real world Bill Clinton being ushered off the stage. It was a stunt double. It was somebody a lookalike, but you only see it but it ties the scene together. And again, this goes back to the whole idea of these video monitors. So now you got CNN, and they're all like reporting that this is unfolding as you see that she's slowly getting pushed out.
As Tom Skerritt, who was always the skeptic, he's trying to push his way in to be that person, that traveler. But this is where, now I did read something where the White House was a bit upset because they said that the president shouldn't be used in this kind of capacity. But Zemeckis argued that the White House was fully informed of what they were doing and never raised an issue.
Yeah, like I said, CNN, you got Wolf Blitzer, you got all these guys who are more than willing to come on and film like these real world news reports, that this is going on. And so now you start to see, or she starts to see especially, the religious implications of these crazed people and zealots. And there's a scene where she's is she going back to the satellites to the ULV?
Yeah, because the base of communication during this whole machine portion of the movie is at the VLA. So all these crazed there's these different groups, whether it be religious groups, Nazi
or the
groups,
UFO enthusiasts,
which is kind of like it's like looking at the front lawn of the White House today. I think you get the same amount of people.
I was going to say Burning Man, but yeah. And I guess most of those people who showed up were extras, and they were true UFO enthusiasts who wore their own attire. It wasn't like the set designer said, all right, I want you to put on an alien costume or wear this. Like, people just came prepared. These are the people that were storming Area 51 last week.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe they were just there every day anyway, and they just got it in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the people that showed up at the top of the RCA building in Independence Day and got blown up. Take me with you.
Take me with you.
Yeah, bye. All right.
Now,
that's also where Palmer shows up.
This is where Palmer, but before we talk about him, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jake Busey, who is doing his best Edgar Winter impersonation here.
I don't think he even has a name. He's like a religious zealot.
Yeah, he just needed the guitar and like dun 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 dun.
He is so, boy, those teeth mixed with that hair.
And they are practical, baby. They are real.
They are practical. Can we have it without the teeth? No, they come with it.
Nope, they come with me. Yeah. I'm sorry. But as you said, this is where we see Palmer come back into it.
And that's great because, she's like, what is he doing here? Because you haven't seen him since she slept with him. And now all of a sudden he shows back up in the White House. And she's like, what is he doing here? What? You think we're going to get a message from a burning bush or a booming voice from God? And he goes, that's exactly what we got. So he's taking exactly what and he's like, no, you're misinterpreting, you're seeing it from a scientific aspect. I'm seeing it from a faith-based aspect that this is what we're getting.
Yeah,
we're getting a voice from God.
Now, he was described as the spiritual advisor to the president. I think that's what he was doing. That's basically
why he was back in there. Although he never...
I can picture that because I could see Mr. Palmer Jaw saying, President Bill Clinton, all right. He's my kind of guy. Have a cigar, Mr. President.
Yeah. There you go. But wasn't it the Reagans? Nancy was like really big into astrology. Yeah. And I think Clinton probably loved this because the rumor is when he got into office, the first thing he asked about was the truth behind Area 51.
Area 51, really?
Yeah. Hell, if I became president, that's damn straight I'd want to know that.
Take me to New Mexico, right? Immediately.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't Bill Pullman's character in Independence Day. Yeah, sir, that's not true. We do have aliens. Yeah. He's like, why wasn't I told of this? You didn't ask. You're a need-to-know basis. I'm the president.
So, yeah, we get a false start. They start to build the machine. Now, this is my question. They had to be using earthbound materials, but absolutely. Pod did not seem earthbound once they actually had it in.
Because now you're kind of suspending belief. They're sending you schematics to build this thing. So it's got to be, if I'm an alien culture and I'm like, I'm contacting the Incas, I'm not going to tell you how to build a car because you don't have the materials to make a car. So the aliens had to know that whatever our limitations were as far as materials on Earth, that's how we had to build. They couldn't have been anything far-fetched or fantastical that doesn't exist mechanically here.
Now, Kitz's argument is that he thinks that this is just going to be a portal for an army to let loose on the Earth.
Which, listen, we all saw Stargate.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. And that's probably what a lot of people would say if this were to actually happen in reality.
And that's the argument, right? Which is, what are we doing here? Are we really going to do this? We're really going to send, but you're sending one person, but you don't know what it is. It could be some massive weapon of destruction.
Yeah.
You guys just blew yourself up, and we're now going to take over your planet. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
So this is where the internal machinations start, where Drumlin and Arroway are both kind of jockeying for position to be that one traveler to go out there. And Drumlin, was just doing it for personal gain because he doesn't believe that he's never believed that any of this was viable or real.
No.
So he just wants the glory.
Oh, of course he does. Right. And
if you can't figure that out yourself, they actually give you, a bone where when he's up there and he's investigating some weird vibrations, and everybody in the control room, Mr. Grandstander, there he is. He knows the camera's on him, so you kind of know where his heart is. So, but Joss Palmer, when they're actually interviewing the two of them, Arroway and Drumlin, to see who's going to go, he kind of sabotages her chances by bringing up her atheism. So, and you don't know if Drumlin is actually sincere when he says that he's a believer, like in religion or God.
I think that you would say whatever it is to get you the job.
Yeah, exactly. He says whatever he needs to say.
Yeah.
To get himself.
But I find it weird that these are the only two candidates.
Right. Yeah.
You would think there would be much more qualified people. Listen, let's build a chair and put Stephen Hawking's in there.
Like actual astronauts, right?
Or somebody. Right? Listen, I believe in Bigfoot. Don't put me out in the woods with him. I got nothing to say to him. I'm running. Yep, he was real. I saw him.
So now they build this thing, and Drumlin wins out. And now it's interesting because they insist on putting a chair in there, and it's not in the schematics.
Against the schematics, right.
So Drumlin is about to go, but Dr. Teeth, Jake Busey.
Jake Busey shows up.
He shows up.
She sees him on the video screen again. Right. The last secsecond, and she
had only seen him in passing before.
Just right, correct. But listen, once you see him, you can't unsee him. Yeah,
you can't. If it wasn't just they didn't really need to give him a blonde wig. It was just the teeth would do it.
Yeah.
So she sees him on the screen. She realizes he's got one of the workers' outfits on, and he's finagled his way in there. So, and he's a terrorist, and he's looking to blow up this whole operation,
and
which
that's exactly what he does. Busey go boom boom, Drumlin go boom boom.
Yep. So no more machine, no more project.
What? End of movie?
End of movie? Nope. In comes again S.R. Haddon. A distant relative of H.R. Puffenstuff, by the way.
Oh, that would have been great.
And J.R.R. Tolkien.
I think he was part Emperor Palpatine because he took right from the playbook. Listen, we're building one Death Star. We might as well build two.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he did.
First rule in government spending. Why build one when you can have two twice the price? Only this one can be kept secret. Controlled by Americans. Built by the Japanese subcontractors, who also happen to be recently acquired, wholly owned subsidiaries of Haddon Industries.
Which he built in Hokkaido, which is an old stomping ground of Godzilla. Because actually, when we were seeing news reports of a second machine built in Hokkaido, and this just in, Godzilla has been sighted about a mile from the machine.
Oh man! So she gets her chance.
Yeah. She gets a chance, but let's point out that Haddon is now in the Mir space station. So all of his latest broadcasts to her are from space because he's got an inoperable form of cancer, and the space, the anti-gravity environment, is keeping him alive.
Keeping him somehow. Yeah. Just long enough to get her into space.
Yep. So he built a second machine with his own subcontractors that were owned by his corporation. And so he sets it up that the machine project can go ahead with her as the astronaut. And she gives a fight, right? She doesn't want the seat, but they make her strapped down.
There. Right. Correct. And the guy from Herman's Head, the boss from Herman's Head, I don't know the actor's name, but as soon as he showed up, I'm like, that's the guy from Herman's Head. But her suit, I felt her suit was very Joan of Arc-ish. And I don't know if that was intentional. I mean, Joan of Arc is a religious icon, right? But she had like this silver shoulder, almost like knight in armor type of I don't know if it was intentional, but that was my takeaway, that she kind of resembled Joan of Arc.
Like, so Arroway would be like a martyr, like in this situation? Because she
I
kind of
guess.
was. She kind of was
right.
when she
I
came
thought-
back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get into that. But.
Yeah. So, okay. So we fast forward to this. So she's about to leave, and all tests are go. She's about to leave. She's picking up a strange vibration, which Drumlin was as well before this whole thing kicked off. So they kind of think that everything is in place, and it is. She starts to see the walls and the floor around her dissolve, so
Become
she can
translucent. Yeah.
so she can see right through them. So she can see the sky, she can see the water, but of course her camera starts going out, so they can't share this. They can't see what she's seeing, so they don't think anything.
And she's
kind of
calling it out too. She's calling out what she's seeing, and they're like, she's nuts.
Yeah. So then we get into 2001 territory, that reality starts to bend, and then suddenly she's like picked up in a wormhole. She's in a vortex. She sees like a cavalcade of colors. She's going through this, what looks like a black hole, and through this tunnel in space. And it's just an amazing, especially seeing that this is 90s CG. But it's a very convincing special effects sequence.
Yes, it was very nice. And then she's, and she's relaying everything that she's seen, but they're having a really hard time even keeping up with, because the thing is, it's like a, what is the mechanism? Because it spins around. It's like 4 or 5
like a
rings,
helix kind of
a
thing,
helix,
right?
And then the space pod drops into the middle of it. Is the way that it goes. So she drops, and immediately like she's off and running.
Right.
She's in this sliders like hyperspace.
Yeah, and this is when the seat starts to vibrate violently.
Right.
Does she detach herself, or does it get knocked?
I think it
basically
basically she unbuckles herself, and then it falls apart. And
then it falls apart, and it sucks up to the ceiling of the pod.
And all of a sudden, everything is calm.
Then she's fine. She's just floating there as her pod is still going through space.
Yep.
So the occupant would have been fine the entire way through without that seat. So she wakes up, and she's on a beach, and
it's the beach.
But before she does, she actually sees what looks like a city and a civilization out through the translucent walls of her pod. And then that's the last thing she sees, and then she wakes up on a beach.
And it's the beach from her drawing.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. And no surprise here. She sees a figure moving towards her from the distance, and who is it but her dead father, looking exactly like he did when she was her last memory of him alive. So, and it turns out there's a monologue. There's a very nice scene between him and her. He is actually an alien that's taken the form of her father, because they've read her thoughts, to make it easier for her, rather than show what.
Sure, if you're something that you're going to be easily digestible.
Right. So not only do they take his form, but they have all his memories through her. So he's talking to her, this alien being, as if he is her father, with all of her father's memories. So, even as you're watching this, you're thinking, is this in her head, or is this actually happening?
You're an interesting species, an interesting mix. You're capable of such beautiful dreams and such horrible nightmares. You feel so lost, so cut off, so alone. Only you're not.
Because it could go either way. He's kind of telling her what she wants to hear, because she's saying, what happens now? You're going to go back home. Well, other people need to know this, when are we going to come back? This is first steps, small steps.
This is it. Yeah. First contact.
In time. And then you find out that other races, they do the same thing with other races. They're looking out
when they
there.
feel they're ready. Yeah.
Yeah. They're looking out in space, just like Jodie Foster is looking out into space, looking for other
When they feel we're ready, then they'll contact us, and next steps. I watched this with a family member, and I will not divulge her name, but when this scene come up, wait, her dad is an alien? Like, no, that's not what you're watching right now. So this all unfolds, and then she is immediately catapulted back.
And the next thing you see is the capsule falling into the water through the safety net. So this is all transpired in the space of maybe 3-5 seconds, maybe?
Correct, because she's immediately, she gets contact back with them again, and she's like, wait a minute, how long was I gone? What day is it? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, you fell straight through. Nothing happened.
Now, here's the big question. Did this happen or did it not happen? Was it all in her head? Was it wish fulfillment? Or did she really contact aliens? Now, there's a
Because the
committee
video
hearing,
records
right?
nothing.
The video records nothing. It's static.
Yep.
There's a video hearing where her and James Woods are going at it. She's trying to give testimony.
Yeah, so now she's on the court defending what happened to her.
Now they're looking.
It's like an inquiry, I guess, basically.
Because they're looking at maybe bringing up charges against somebody because he gives the very valid point that this was all privately financed by a very eccentric billionaire.
Yeah.
Who gave her the schematics? Who gave her the key? He could have created this entire.
He had an ulterior,
scheme.
And she's got no shred of proof.
Right. Now, in this case, the aliens they're pricks. They know that
that she's going to have to come back.
Give her a souvenir. Give her something. Give her something.
Right? Yeah. No, they left me this. The video and the scientific instruments confirmed that the time that she experienced was instantaneous.
Yeah.
And so now she's forced to be confronted with the idea that her point of contact equals belief. She's now forced to argue the belief in what she experienced, even though she has no proof whatsoever. It is one of her better performances. It is, and at the end, the great thing is that, she comes out and she sees Palmer and he grabs her hand, and in the audio commentary, this is where Robert Zemeckis says contact. And it's not so much about the contact of alien, but the contact that the marriage of science and religion can go hand in hand. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this because like I said, not being raised religious, I had to go to Sunday school or whatever, but I've always been fascinated with religion. And I think, I'm envious of somebody who can believe in something without any kind of empirical proof. Like you've been told as a kid, God exists, worship him or whatever. And it's something I've never had in my life, but I'm very fascinated with it. And this movie, for whatever reason to me, speaks because everything that she believed in was something that she had in front of her and had proof to back it up. And now she's put in his position of arguing. He even says to her at one point, you love your father? Well, of course I love my father. Prove it.
Yeah.
What do you mean prove it?
I just do. Yeah. You can't.
Right. I just do. And so, and so then and at the very end of the movie, you see her back in New Mexico, but you went from 27 satellite dishes to like hundreds. So somewhere along the line, they're like, somebody said, you know what, we need to make this happen.
Right.
So
because I've always been, because I was raised Catholic. So I've always been, but also, I take science very seriously at the same time.
Right.
So I've always thought that they could coexist. Why wouldn't the idea of God creating something that evolves? That is, just like that seems very natural to me. Why can't those two things exist? And even like the religious argument that, Earth is the only life in the cosmos. All these other planets are just dead rocks. Well, God created those dead rocks.
Correct.
If religion,
right? We're not. It's not.
God didn't just create the Earth. Why couldn't He have created life on Mars? Why couldn't?
Yeah, I mean that's the argument. Which if it's just us, it's a complete and utter waste of space. Mm-hmm. But at one point, she even argues using Drake's equation, which is there are 100 billion stars out there. There's a certain even if you just problematically break it down mathematically, and you're like, if there's only like a 0.001% chance that there's another star system out there exactly like ours that can sustain life, you're still talking about billions of potential planets with life. And I've had this argument with my brother-in-law, and he's like, it's bullshit. And I'm like, what? How can you say that you're just like, it's impossible. I can't. What do you mean it's impossible? Again, I love watching, ancient alien astronauts, those stupid theories, because I truly believe that we probably have been visited before. We could be ancestors. Look at Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, look at Prometheus.
We all came from the stars, right? Yeah, it doesn't mean, to me, it's not one, Chris Christopherson looking guy sitting up on high going, yeah, I did all that shit. I mean, if aliens came down and said, listen, we came here billions of years ago. We populated your planet, just like Prometheus did. We are your gods. people would lose their freaking minds.
But at the time, we don't know where we came from. That's
no, right, exactly. Where did you come from?
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
To me, religion is a construct of human design to make us feel better that we're not.
Well, for some, it does actually have that purpose. And, it's just like Palmer Joss. It is something like a belief in something that you can't really rationalize. It's just ingrained.
Like I said, I'm jealous
you.
of that.
Yeah.
That you can wholeheartedly believe in something that you can't back up other than the fact that in your heart, it's what you believe in.
It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be rational. Unlike Ad Astra. But
there are no aliens. We are a complete and utter waste of space on that one. So I love this movie. It's not an action movie by any means, but it is something that makes you think.
Yes, it does. It does. And so a little bit of background on this movie. Ray Fiennes, or for you uncultured, Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes.
He was originally considered for the part of Palmer Joss.
Really?
And I could see him as that.
I could see that, but I think that McConaughey adds, because he's so laid back, and like you said, because he's got that kind of surfer dude swagger, I guess, and he's almost playing against type. I don't know. Ray Fiennes, I think, takes himself a little too seriously sometimes, unless he's, in a Harry Potter movie.
Unless, and he doesn't have a nose.
That's true.
They were going to cast...
Monkeys ate it off.
Yeah, monkeys ate it off. They were going to cast Linda Hunt as the president.
Linda Hunt?
Linda Hunt, yeah.
Really?
Not to be confused with Linda Hamilton. This is Linda Hunt, like little Linda Hunt.
Yeah. I like the fact that they used real worlds.
Yeah, it grounds it.
It does, absolutely.
Now, in an early treatment of the screenplay, all of Earth was going to be swallowed up in the wormhole. Now, I don't know how that would have played out, but how Earth could actually survive going through a wormhole and taken out of its orbit. But the whole Earth was going to make the journey. George Miller, famously of Mad Max, Road Warrior, and Fury Road, was going to be one of the directors that was considered, and he actually had the job, but he was fired because it took too long for him to get the production started. He actually hired Jodie Foster. He sacked Jodie Foster.
Oh, wow.
What was it, Warner's that did this? I forget who the studio was, but they felt he was taking too long, and they fired him. And Zemeckis, who was offered this originally and turned it down, it came back around to him, and then he accepted, and then he took it on. But filmed on location in New Mexico at those VLA scenes.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because a lot of the outdoor scenes had to be re-looped because the bugs were so loud.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
And Peter Jackson's Weta Digital worked on this.
I didn't even know they were in existence back then.
For the wormhole scene, they did it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you've ever watched the Lord of the Rings special features, Weta, they call it the New Zealand accent. Weta.
Yeah. Weta. Wait a minute.
So yeah, that's and okay, budget wise, $90 million it cost to make this. It did $171 million worldwide, so it did make back its cost. Jodie Foster won the Golden Globe for Best Actress. She did not win the Oscar, but she did win the Golden Globe.
I did not know that.
George Miller sued, for obvious reasons, because he was fired.
Because he was fired.
Francis Ford Coppola sued over this movie because he insisted that he and Sagan worked on a treatment of this very story as early as 1975 for a TV show, and they abandoned it. And then Sagan must have taken it up again. That's what Coppola maintained. I don't know if he won or not, but he did sue the movie company.
Wow, interesting.
So there you go. Contact.
Yeah. My one takeaway, which is that because we're all going over to digital now, is that at what point do the analog, radio signals of the world just go away? Like at some point, we're going to stop broadcasting stuff into space. Radio. I listen to FM radio. At what point? Maybe it won't. I don't know. It's not as prevalent as it was.
So how many buckets would you give this, Jeff?
I got to go at least... I put 4. Did I put 4? I got to go at least 4. 4.25.
4.25.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I would have thought that this would have made your 5-bucket list.
It is very close, but it is up there as far. I probably did put on my 5-bucket list at one point. and then it just got bumped down.
Yeah, I think because I remember when we were first talking about the 5 bucket concept, I think maybe Contact was thrown in there.
It is a very enjoyable movie for me.
Yeah, I would go solid 4 buckets for me.
Cool.
Maybe Ray Fiennes, I think, could have been a better.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
We'll never know. There is a certain charm that McConaughey brings to this.
Yeah, because he's kind of playing against type.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you had a pastor or you know a minister who was buttoned up, I don't think it would have played as well because he's so just kind of charismatic and laid back, and she's so stoic in her, like he's very at ease and very comfortable with his belief, and she is very defensive of her belief.
Now, you know, I do see a note that I made that I didn't bring up earlier, and I will now because it seems apropos, that during the scene when Palmer Joss first beds Jodie Foster's character, and she like bolts from the bed the next morning to go to work, she throws on a shirt without much care for her appearance. She shows up at work sans brassiere, and luckily Kent Clark, who is blind, is the only one there. Or he may have been distracted a bit during the rest of that day.
He does a double take. Dude, William, you can't see it.
Yeah, I may be blind, but even I can tell you're not wearing a bra. So yes, a solid 4 buckets from me.
There you go.
Contact.
Worthy. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you've seen it but haven't seen it in a while, watch it again.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it since I probably first came on home video back in 97, 98. Yeah.
And like I said, the audio commentary, at least Jodie Foster has an audio commentary on the DVD. I did not listen to that, but the Robert Zemeckis one doesn't really give you too much.
I don't think that there was much. There probably was not any Contact merchandising. I do not.
I'm going to say no. I don't remember.
I don't remember the machine playset or or the Palmer Joss. McDonald's. The Palmer Joss action figure
with rosary beads
with removable shirt and rosary beads.
Oh, you could get the Jake Busey teeth hair kit.
and the wig and the teeth. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So this brings us to our confessional this week.
Confessionals.
And we kind of tried to loosely base it on the alien theme, where we brought up and none of these movies really talk about alien abduction.
No.
But there
alien
are
contact, alien contact,
alien contact.
Kind of, you know.
So what is our favorite instance, TV, movies, whatever, of alien contact, alien abduction? So Jeff, did you have anything in mind? Because
I did. I absolutely had something in mind. I'm going 2 years after this, 1999, Galaxy Quest. Probably hands down one of the most genius send-ups, not only of Star Trek as a pop culture phenomenon, but also of its real world actors and, you know, the trappings that they found themselves in when the show was canceled. If no one has ever seen this movie, every time I watch it, I laugh hysterical.
We should really cover that movie.
We really
soon.
It is a genius, underappreciated movie. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Tony Shalhoub, and then Enrico Colantoni, who he was on Just Shoot Me. He's kind of a character actor. He shows up. But basically, it is a Star Trek-like TV show that was canceled. And unfortunately, these actors are forever linked to their roles, and they're reduced to go into these comic conventions and these mall openings. And the one thing that real Star Trek characters never did was show up in costume, but these guys do. And Tim Allen plays such a piece of William Shatner type character who the show is all about him, and secretly the rest of the cast members hated him. And unbeknownst to them, at one of the conventions, he has a bunch of what he considers fans show up and ask for his help. And he kind of dismisses them and does not realize that they are aliens from another planet, thinking that the show were real-world historical tapes, documents. And they are being persecuted by this crab-like alien, Saris. And he employs all the other actors to come. They rebuild the ship. And they're soon, you know, forced to kind of fight and defend, try and save their lives and the aliens as well. Very well done. Incredibly clever.
Yeah, I would like to see that again.
Yeah, definitely deserves a second watch. It is again, pretty early on, in the CG world, but there's some great scenes, and the character of Sarah. So again, he's this full realized green alien, but he's got like these lobster claw things that come out of his head. Just the dialogue, and Sam Rockwell, who probably this may have been one of his first movies. He's at a convention and he plays one of these red shirt Star Trek characters that gets killed in like the opening sequence of the episode, and he completely plays that character throughout the whole. You're like, what do we do? I don't know. I got killed on the first episode. He doesn't even have a name. They call him Guy, which is genius. But Sigourney Weaver plays a character, and her whole role on the TV show was just to repeat what the computer says. And I always joke that my wife turns into this whenever we're driving somewhere and we have the GPS or the Waze on. And it'll tell you, all right, make a left a mile up the road. And I hear it. And then she repeats it. She's like, so I just go with it because it's adorable. But she becomes this Gwen character. So Galaxy Quest, that's one of my favorite alien contact.
Nice. You see, I was thinking really rigidly of alien abduction here. So I could have probably went outside the box. But I'm going to say Fire in the Sky.
Nice. That is such a great, if you're going to talk about an alien abduction movie, that is a very disturbing alien.
It is it's loosely based, I think, kind of on real world accounts, right?
There was a book, I think it was a book that was written first. Is it Robert Patrickson?
He's in it, but D.B. Sweeney is the guy that actually gets abducted.
Sweeney. Okay, all right. It's been a while.
So it's a 93, I believe, is the movie.
Fire in the Sky, right?
Fire in the Sky.
Yep.
You've also got movies out there like Christopher Walken's Communion.
That never left a...
Yeah, that is not very successful, I think, as a film. But Fire in the Sky gives you those thrills. It's almost like a horror movie in ways.
It is because it's very disturbing.
Yeah, and it pays off. It's not like it's an ambiguous thing where
did he or didn't he?
Yeah, it is. It does actually have the did he or didn't he, but you actually see the inside of the spaceship and everything else. And so it's satisfying. And I'll just give you a personal story about this. I saw this in the theater, right? With a few friends, and we were driving back home. We probably saw it in the local theater in New Paltz here in New York, and driving back home to the apartment in New Paltz.
You saw a light.
We saw a light, and it was coming right towards the car. We saw a matinee, and it was probably at dusk. And the light was so bright, it was coming across an apple field. And this was an abandoned road where nobody else was on except for us. And everybody in the car freaked out because this was getting closer and closer, and it was low. And it actually came to the point where we pulled the car over. One person screamed in the back seat. It was a helicopter, and it flew right overhead, which had a very bright spotlight. I don't know if they were looking for something, but they were flying low over this apple field. But we didn't hear it, and it wasn't. So I will always remember that with this viewing of Fire in the Sky.
Meanwhile, in the cockpit, we see a car. We're gonna go. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they can see us. We're gonna get closer. Yeah.
Bob, can you put that spotlight on? Awesome. You gotta love stuff like that. One more alien story, which is I had a friend who was driving home, older gentleman, and he's driving home on 684, and again dusk, and he sees this orb like in front of him, and he's driving, and it's just sitting there in the sky, and he freaks out, and he actually pulls over, and he gets out of his car, and he's standing there going, what the hell am I looking at? And he said like he was getting chills. He was like freaking himself out. It was one of those balls on the wire to indicate the plane's not flying over.
Oh yeah.
I guess just at dusk he couldn't see the wires holding it up. It was just this orange ball in the sky.
Which looks like a basketball in the daytime.
And you're telling people this story?
Yeah.
Dude.
So let's cue the coming attractions music now. So now next week, we are on the cusp. We're going to be on the cutting edge of the discussion here.
Let's hope.
About Joker.
I might have to take a day off from work to watch this.
Take a day off. Take a bulletproof vest.
What is up with this?
Know your exits, Jeff. Know your exits.
You know what? What is this? This happened at the other Batman movie. What do people have about Batman?
I know.
Open fire.
Let's leave Batman alone. Come on.
It was National Batman Day the other day.
So, going down that route, we're covering Joker, but as a bonus feature, as our classic next week, we're going to revisit the original big screen, if you're not counting Cesar Romero. All respect to Cesar Romero. the original big screen iteration of the Joker, Jack Nicholson in 1989's Batman.
Man, that was a juggernaut.
That was. I really want to talk about just not only the movie, but just the hype and the hysteria around the release of the 1989's Batman.
That was must see.
It was. And it kicked off a Batman craze that never really abated. It brought the character back into the limelight, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Mom himself.
Yeah, next week, Joker and Batman.
I don't think I have that on disc. I have to.
No, I'm looking for the Blu-ray at the library. Let's see if it's there.
Because it's the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, you think that it's out there.
Very cool.
There you go. Next week.
All right. Well, always a pleasure. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Good time. See you in the stars.
All right.
All right.
All right.